Oh, yes. Where do you live?
Fernandina Beach.
Fernandina Beach.
I'm going until after Thanksgiving, so it's all over my brain. All right, ready?
Well, just stick with it. I mean, it's Florida. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, two different places. All right, ready? Welcome back to the Hot Dog Stand Podcast. I am Chris Wally, one of your hosts. We have a very special guest today. We are on episode 14, and hey, glad to have y'all back.
And I'm Brian Rick from O'Fallon, Missouri. One of your hosts for tonight.
I'm Neil Quick from Fenton, Missouri. Glad to be one of the hosts. Really excited about episode 14, and it's a good chance it might be our last one after tonight, boys.
Kyle Pendergraph, your executive producer from Clarksville, Indiana. Brian, I'm gonna shoot this on up to you. Why don't you introduce our guest?
All right, guys. So tonight
Legendary.
we have the legendary. We have the legendary, the highly opinionated, often controversial, the Chaz Thompson. How you doing, buddy?
I am here in front of a camera with four of the guys. Last time I did this, I was making way more money. But we're doing fine tonight, I guess. Yeah. We're doing fine.
Thanks for joining us. This is going to be kind of a free-for-all, so we're just going to, whatever comes out of our mouths, we're going to talk about it, and whatever happens, happens. So
that's what she said, you know.
That's what she said, man. I'm gonna let Neil start us off here.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, we're not gonna go there yet, but I do have some good questions. I'd really like to get a little bit of background, Chaz.
No. This is not.
Yeah.
We're background. That's for regular stuff. You wanted to start talking some shit right off the get-go. So get back to what you were saying prior to us going live. How about you just do that?
Well, I mean,
let's not beat around the bush and say,
road.
what elementary school did you go to? Let's get down to it, you know?
Well, I mean, I did a little bit of research, and when I looked up the Chaz and started watching some of the videos in here, I didn't know we had a rock star with us that had music videos out there on too, man. We got music videos. But okay, we'll go back to our racing thing.
Music and stuff. Yeah, I try to cover every avenue of entertainment that you can do. So that's what you have to do if you're going to be an entertainer.
I see that you jumped in a dirt car too.
Yeah. I'm ready to race anytime you can, but the people just ain't throwing people in race cars for free. You know, and I wasn't necessarily doing it for free, but
So you're a paid driver.
When I did it, I didn't lose money when I did it. I mean, I had to pay for stuff. There was times where I had to pay, but the money I worked for or did or used or anything, it all went to what I was doing. But it was all sponsorship stuff. It was like almost real race. I'm kind of used to that. Like real racers, when you go talk to them, there's a lot of main people behind the scenes that their downtime is on the phone trying to get sponsorships for the next race. They're going down the road in a holler and they're talking to, 6 or 7 different people about sponsor here, sponsor there. So, and that's kind of what I've been doing on my, travels is kind of, hey, I want to come there, help out. We'll get there. We'll put something together, do some talks, make some shows, work for it. There's a lot of different work elements in dirt racing or just racing in general. It's like Clyde Knipp, he's a pretty good buddy of mine, works on the JJR 41 team, and we talked about, I was like, what do you want to be? I was just joking with him. He's like, well, I want to be a racer, but this is all I can do. And it's like, well, hello, that's what I'm doing. I want to be a racer. Right. I think everybody here wants to be a racer. The whole iRacing community wants to be a race car driver. They just don't have the money to do it. You know, and so you just got to find roles that you can afford to be in, and just, if you want to race or want to do more than that, just, if it comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. But do what you can with the day you got, That's how I see it.
That brings up the question. I mean, and just stepping back a little bit, asking you this: what got you interested in dirt racing and following dirt racing? At what age and where did it come from?
Well, I mean, I think most people are the same. I think it's like their dad or family member immediately introduced them to it or took them to it. And then it was kind of like your first memories of life were at racetracks, if you think about it.
100%. Absolutely.
You can't really think of the first picnic or the first time you went to, a store or something. You can definitely think or remember the racetracks that you went to, or maybe depending if your family was into football, you could remember football games you watched, or music, or, but I think that's pretty much, why I'm into it. I think that's why a lot of people are into anything. I know we were joking a little bit earlier about conspiracy theories and all that, but when you get into conspiracy theories, and especially when you get into marketing and you get into media, you start learning and you study the bigger entities of how they operate. You start learning that a human being is almost what they're raised to be. They're very raisable and moldable. Their foundations, their ideologies can be built from a very young age. And I've halfway, somewhat, even, asked myself, challenged myself in my life, do I like racing, or do I like racing because my dad liked it? Or do I like racing because of this or that? Do I really like it? Because there's some elements to this sport when you get to learning about it that are just wrong. I took such a stance. I took such a stance on like trying to get dirt racers, more attention and stuff, because you look at the racing world and the attention goes to the NASCAR boys, and they deserve some attention too. But the local race car driver could be a Tom Brady, and the guy on TV could be a Johnny Manziel. He just looks really good because the competition is hand selected by the industry. And I
think you pulled that off, though. I think that you did have a little bit of a hand in getting dirt track racing recognized. Because you constantly making videos. Some of them were controversial, and it was good for racing. You know what I mean? It brought it brought awareness to dirt track racing, NASCAR, the interminglings of it. So I thought I enjoyed it.
Well, and there, that's, I hope that'd be great to take some credit there. That would be great, to know that message isn't lost. I think that the biggest issue with racing, and I don't know how much we're going to talk about real racing here, but I think the biggest issue with real racing is, just hold on 1 second, is that it's introduced to new people. Like dirt racing is like introduced as flag football, and NASCAR is the NFL, and all these other things are different levels, and it kills the respect for the local racer, the national dirt racer. It makes them look like a local flag foot. It makes them look like the guy who wasn't good enough to make it to the NFL, and that just doesn't. Right. This is not that situation just doesn't exist. But I'm sorry, I just had to get that out. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I agree with him too, and I think he makes a valid point in that. But my question is comparing Tom Brady being NASCAR and Johnny Manziel possibly being the local dirt track guy. My question is, I see you take that approach a lot with NASCAR, and being a stock car guy. And first of all and foremost, I'm going to go back to what I was raised with when I was a kid. I grew up at dirt tracks. Friday night at Belle Claire, being 6 and 7 years old, playing with the Hot Wheels of dirt. Growing up from that age on, being in racing, Highland Speedway on Saturday nights. My uncle raced modifieds. The family would work all week long on the car. End up there. That's how it started for me. Raced quarter midgets at 6 and 7, all the way up to 9 years old. Was fortunate that I had a family that allowed me to do that. My question is, I hear in your videos and sometimes in your narrative where you go after sometimes the stock car guys on Sunday saying, and there is a lot of this too, but it's not as much as I think there is. The talent pool in NASCAR are the guys from the dirt racing side
right now.
But here's the deal. That's not always the case. The talent pool may be from the dirt racing side, but I can tell you down the list of people that, okay, say these guys you're using as example, let's just say at 14 they raced at a local racetrack, 15, 16. Say that they had the opportunity to do that, but say there's another 14 to 16-year-old that had the same opportunity but doesn't have a lot of money. If he wins 20 races, but the guy with the money wins 1 or 2, the guy who wins 1 and 2, the Johnny Manziel, goes to the NFL, while the Tom Brady talent, the more naturally talented player, is left behind because he has no money. And the greatest example of that is Chase Briscoe. I don't know who went and looked at his damn dirt track. I used to race. I know it's a sim racing deal. I used to race R Factor back in the day and was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Chase Briscoe used to joke at me and say I was the Steve Kendra of online racing. So I know this motherfucker for a pretty damn long time, you know. And I even told him at fucking Eldora, you know, you're lucky as shit to even be where you're at. But that would be a great example. You could maybe use Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell. But I know grown adults right now in California that used to beat Kyle Larson at Cycle Land. You know, they were just the same age range, but their kids, they weren't sponsored in an outlaw cart by Parker Stores. Like Kyle Larson was. He came from nothing, but he's sponsored an outlaw cart by Parker Stores. He's in a $150,000 360 operation at 14 because he mowed enough grass, I guess, you know, to afford that. That's not possible. So, I mean, it's just across the board, the best race car drivers in the world more than likely are not in NASCAR, and that's just because the system of racing doesn't allow talent to proceed. It allows, you know, financials or merits or non-merit based profiteering, and now it's becoming a monarchy where it's family based. It's full of monarchy and nepotism. It's just littered with it.
Okay, let me get your opinion on this one, Ross Chastain.
I mean, I would love to see the average income for watermelon farming. I guarantee it ain't 50,000. How do you own farms? Doesn't his family owns farms? This is not a poor person who works 9 to 5 at Walmart.
Right.
He's the poorest person
farms in the country. Yeah,
he's the poorest person. Maybe. I mean, I guess maybe Daniel Suarez would have been the poor. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about watermelon farm. Oh, it sounds great because he's a farmer. I mean, I get it that, you know, you're trying to push this Luke Bryant narrative to get some right-wing fans to still like your show. But, I mean, that's the media behind the show.
Somewhere along the line, it's just like what I watched earlier, and I'm a Tyler Carpenter fan because he's won the Dome twice.
Right.
My buddies over at Aggressive sponsor him. We're all fans of him. You can't take and put that product on TV the way it is. It's too raw.
No way.
You can't put it. You can't sell sponsors, and you can't put this talent, which he has, just no different than Junior talking to Bloomquist, and Helton's going, hey, we can't put you on TV. We can't put you in this spot. That's the same thing. I want to see Tyler Carpenter get that opportunity just as much as you do. But you can't put somebody that's not groomed enough to that point.
Can't wear your
there's going to be enough pieces of the puzzle. Yeah,
I mean, I just don't see that as true. I mean, there is way more sketchier, non-well-groomed characters littered in like the NFL and the NBA, and there's people who can't speak English in baseball. So, I mean, what do you mean? They got sponsors all over their things.
NASCAR being a sponsored-based sport, though, you're throwing, and this is, so my example, let's go back late 90s. My father was going to have a chance to run trucks for Bobby Hamilton, Sr. Well, he's this redneck from South Georgia who's got jacked up front tooth. They say, well, you got to get your teeth fixed. You got to go through speech classes. Because he's a good-looking guy, but he had to look the part and he had to sound the part.
Well,
and it was all because of sponsors.
Well, and that's why NASCAR. I mean, if they really want to know what's wrong with them, that's their problem. Is they've groomed these people too much that they're unrelatable. There's no one that people can relate to anymore. I mean, they used to relate to a Dell Sr. or a freaking Bobby Hamilton or Jimmy Spencer or regular guys. You know, as soon as they started pushing this Kardashian-based style, you know, the fake just doesn't sell anymore. People hate fake. They'd rather have real and ugly than fake and pretty any day of the week now.
I said this the other day, man, on another show that when Kevin Harvick gets out of racing, he quits NASCAR, that cowboy style persona it's over. You don't have he's the last one. So, you know, you talk about grooming drivers, you look at Tyler Reddick, groomed, came from dirt late models. You look at Justin Allgaier, groomed, came from dirt late models. So yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I want to go back to.
Well, and the only ones who aren't groomed are the ones that are based in, the monarchy system of the sport. You know, where it's because you're a kid of mine, you get to advance to the throne. You know, and really not even anymore either. Even in that department, you can't say Chase Elliott is non-groomed. I mean, he looks very groomed. I mean, you can't say that probably Dale Jr. was the last one that wasn't truly groomed, you know,
Right.
and that's just because he had a little bit of an accent, you know, and drank beer. But everyone else I see in NASCAR, I picture them going to the, you know, nightclub and ordering, you know, a sparkling water. I don't see them ordering a beer.
Right.
Hell, Austin Dillon's got a freaking reality show.
Yeah, right.
It's
They got canceled or something, didn't they? I thought it was cool for a minute.
wow. I have no
Look
comment.
at him. Look at Chaz's face down there.
I think it's cool.
painful.
It's Kardashians.
painful.
It's
Yeah,
the
it was
Kardashians
definitely
of the
Kardashians.
racing world. Just like that Racing Wives show. It was disgusting, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
You
let's
know what
switch
was
back
cool
gears.
was
Let's do some
the-
dirt track stuff.
No,
Yeah,
no,
let's
no.
do
Keep
that.
talking shit about NASCAR. This is ratings boosters. This is hey man. I mean that my first video ever was like 90,000 views, and it was basically just saying, you know, that NASCAR's overrated. I started calling them concrete queens, and you know, it was when the trucks were coming on the dirt, and I was like, you got your transgender trucks, you know, you put your skirts on and everything. And I was like, you don't even build the cars. And I was like, in front of a modified, I was like, men build their own race cars, you know, because
Yep,
in dirt
amen
we
on
still
that.
have that opportunity to do. And I'm pissed off about the professional racer only being on your television screen, because when you research the sport, the respect for the local racer was so much different back when they were paid adequately. You know,
Yeah.
World of Outlaws on ABC, you know, big blocks from up north, Illinois. I forgot the one race. Habit Tampa's on there, you know. I mean, they just used to
go into that.
respect the local racer
be a good-
differently.
That'd be a good feed to go into where we're going to go next.
Oh, you already have it planned out there, huh?
Well, you
You
did,
always
not
are
me.
suspectful
It's
of the guy with
it's
the
always your
glasses.
fault.
All right, Kyrie
So, my
Irving,
question-
let's hear it.
Kyrie coming at you. Now, my question is, and you are 100% right when we talk about, man, when we grew up as kids on TNN, you could watch big block modifieds coming through the TV.
Thursday Night
Moody
Thunder.
Miles.
ABC, I was
Thursday Night
referencing
Thunder.
ABC. It was on AB. The ones I was watching were ABC. But yeah, TNN, ESPN was obviously Thursday Night Thunder, and yeah,
But we had you agree or disagree, viable, dirt, good local racing.
you
on
had
TV to watch.
exposure for the sport on television. Yes, that's how I
Yes.
would view it.
So as we travel down this dusty path with a few bumps in it, the way the motorsports future's going, and I know this is a hot topic along the lines with the streaming services and the different players out there and what's going on right now. It's definitely bringing a lot of light and controversy that's going on right now. What is your views? I mean, I know we've heard a little bit of it through your videos and stuff like that, but kind of reiterate what you think. And I know the black elephant in the room, of course, is what's going on right now. How World of Outlaws, late models, Lucas Oil, all the late model series are kind of broken into pieces and done different models with different streams. And the sprint car series is the hot topic, with the fact that the World of Outlaws trying to control the teams with their platinum memberships and the possibilities of not running other series.
To continue to control them would be the better deal, because they've had this control on them this entire time. But yeah, that's the hot topic. So I look at it bigger picture. I look at a lot of these things as like kind of like hamburgers versus salad. Like the hamburger makes you feel good initially, but the salad will make you feel better in the long run. So like you mentioned how it was on TNN. I mentioned how it was the ABC, ESPN exposure to all these sports. Now I think one thing that killed racing overall, because racing overall is less popular than ever. Not just dirt. Racing overall, I think it is like NASCAR's with like 5 million likes and like on Facebook, which is where the majority of NASCAR fans reside, because Facebook's a conservative it's considered the conservative platform of social medias. But I think it used to be bigger back then because you had different sports of racing. You know, you used to walk into the racing restaurant back then, and when it say you never heard of it, you get introduced to it through television. and you would see a NASCAR race, or hell, there'd be swamp buggy racing on there. There'd be all kinds.
Man, that was the best.
ESP, all kinds. So if you didn't really like a NASCAR Cup race of a car going in the corner, just chilling out, drinking a Slurpee and smoking cigarettes with Dick Trickle, you could tune over and see Steve Kinser and Sammy Swindell throwing sliders. And if you didn't like that, you could turn over and watch IndyCar, which IndyCar was the biggest form of American motorsports at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what happened was I heard that ESPN advertisers just didn't see the value in racing. And then like Fox and everybody got involved. And I think the first thing that killed racing was the popularity of racing was Speed Channel, because it segregated motorsports. Because on ESPN or TNN or something like that, you could catch somebody who wasn't a race fan and they would get introduced to it. To whereas when it moved to Speed Channel, it segregated the race fan. No one went to the Speed Channel except people who liked racing. So it killed the exposure of the sport. You no longer were expanding the brand of racing.
That's a damn good point right there. Nobody, if you wanted to watch racing, like to your point, you clicked on a channel. Before, you had different. I'm with you, man. That's
like
really
NBA fans were getting on there to watch the game in 30 minutes, and they're catching the end of a World Outlaw race somewhere, or a dune buggy or something. They're getting a taste of entertainment, and that's how you expanded it. And I was going to further elaborate into the next step that's even worse is now. And this is why I've struggled with streaming, is streaming has segregated it to the next level to where now you got to pay to see it. Luckily there's YouTube and Facebook with the video highlights, or we would be destroyed, because outside of somebody catching a video on Facebook or YouTube, you're not going to see racing at all anymore, anywhere, unless it's NASCAR. And see that segregation of NASCAR being allowed on the stage back in those days versus the dirt stuff and everything else allowed NASCAR to portray a ideology of what racing is to dumb regular people. And so now people 30 years later view that as this NFL, because that's all they've ever seen on their TV. In every other sport, that's how it works. What's on the TV is what's the top level. Yeah, it's that's what's on the top, and then they use kids from dirt. They never go and get a grown man from dirt. They get a kid from dirt who did it from 14 to 18 years old, so that when they introduce a dirt racer, it's like, yeah, he grew up just like he would grow up playing high school. He grew up driving dirt. And the NASCAR drivers are from dirt narrative gets started. I mean, before Kyle Larson got kicked out and Chase Elliott and a few people tried dirt, which we need to thank them for getting exposed. But, I mean, before they did that, there were people in comments and NASCAR stuff that would come on, like, during Knoxville or something, and Kyle Larson would run third or something, and they would get on there, well, if Kyle Larson can run third, heck, Chase Elliott would lap the field. Like, this is what but this is what people thought. That's
so crazy.
If Tom Brady can beat, or any NFL player can go to your local high school and destroy the high school cornerbacks and destroy any team there is. The worst NFL team could beat the best college team. So it's the same kind of mindset, narrative that's played out. But streaming, back to your point, I think segregates the sport even to a further extent. And I don't know if it's good in that department at all, because it segregates people to have to pay to watch it. Which makes money short term, but long term it'll destroy the sport. It's the hamburger, it's not the salad.
I mean, the biggest thing I see with streaming, and he's got a great point with this, and the fact that you keep narrowing the path down of the race fan to this point.
The cash cow. You just keep making money off everyone who likes it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, and I had this conversation with somebody on the way home from work, was the fact that he goes, Neil, I'm a 65, 66-year-old man that isn't able to go out to the races anymore. It's easy for me to sit in my living room and watch Flow Racing and watch the races that I can't go to anymore. And it's interesting. I understand that. I definitely do. But again, I need you to tell that track promoter why you're not there. The guy that's putting the race on or having the facility to put it on, working with the promoter, working with the streaming service, working with the series to be there. And that I see that point. But again, I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Well,
streaming tough.
It goes back to the track promoters. It goes back to what I'm talking about. Nobody's ever really talked or thought about, because one of the biggest problems in this sport, period, across the board, not just track promoters, is blaming your damn self for what's wrong. I mean, the damn driver will blame the food they ate before they got in the car on if they did a bad move on a fucking racetrack. Green's a bad color. Well, go tell Jimmy Owens that shit. You know, I mean,
we hear it all the time.
Everyone's always blaming something. Oh, I forgot to put the lug on the car. Well, it must have been because Peanuts were here earlier today. No, it's because you fucked up. All right. So the way I even got to my process of thinking with all these marketings and strategies and all that is when I was in track promotion. You know, I was kind of like below the promoter, and it was a family, so you're always below any family thing. But they would always say, you know, we used to have 10,000 people here weekly. It was Devil's Bowl in Mesquite. We used to have 10,000 people here weekly, and you look up the history, it's like, damn, they had 10,000. Damn, they were paying this much money. You know, how is this possible? How is the track so popular? And then 30 years later down the road, it's not anymore. And their excuse would just always be, well, there's so many more things to do nowadays than there used to be. We hear this from promoters all the time. There's so many options. I mean, you can't just say that. And when you go out there and you learn how scarce the awareness of this sport is, dirt racing in particular, it is, I mean, most people will have no clue what a sprint car even is. They'll think it's a Miata or something. You know, they have
exactly
no
right. They have no idea.
clue. So, Mr. Track Promoter, before you blame there's too many things to do on a Saturday night, you need to work on making sure that people know you're even a fucking thing to do on a Saturday night.
Right.
Why don't they even know you exist? You know, and that's where I started researching on.
Around. Yep.
Well, I'm just saying that's when I started researching how people forgot the sport, and this is how I came up with most of my ideology. But I just think promoters, and now they have the best scapegoat, is streaming. You know, now that's their new scapegoat for why they don't have people in the stands. You know, so, but back, sorry, Brian, you've been cut off twice. What did you just want to say?
Man.
Not by me.
No,
he cut you off earlier, the guy with the glasses, but I just cut you off right now. No, I'm just playing.
I had nothing to say.
I
just
cut him
think
off on race nights too.
Oh, okay. All right.
You mentioned sprint cars and stuff like that, which is the baddest race car on the planet in my book. I think the promoters ought to be out pushing that car. They ought to tote it around town. They ought to build one and put people in it. You know what I mean? Build a two-seater,
Right.
take them for a ride down Main Street. And
fire that thing up and run around town with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I made impacts like
the
that.
baddest car on the planet.
I mean, there's not too many places that do car shows. I mean, I tried to do car shows there, and I would take them into downtown Dallas and stuff. Like, last week at Vegas, you know, they're doing the desert. You know, they're doing all they can to promote whatever they want to promote. But, you know, I'm talking with a security guard that is a salary member at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and he's like, man, there would be so many more people here if they even knew it was going on. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, no one knows that the race is even happening. You know, and they're in Vegas. I can imagine the advertising is, you know, pretty harsh to pay for in Vegas, but there had to be some restaurant or a strip club or something where you could have took a few late models out that Monday and, you know, fired them up and let them run and put something. I mean, you got a damn racetrack. You got to have something beneficial to these casinos. I mean, barter some deals or something. I don't know, but you should be able to get out there with your event, your car, and actually promote your event instead of, like, I think a lot of streaming people are more concerned with promoting their stream and reaching new people. New people ain't going to pay for your damn stream. So that ain't really the concern, you know, but the media streaming companies also are controlling all of, you know, the promotions of the media because they own and film all the media. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword when it comes to you know, streaming and promoting and actually getting out there the sport. I think, like I said, I think a lot of people are seeing like good short-term like revenue, whether that's streaming or whatever, but they're losing sight on the salad. You know, this burger's going to kill the sport quicker. You know, it's not going to expand it. It's not promoting it.
I mean, think about it. We got one of the, I would say, crown jewel late model races in town in 2 weeks, Brian. I mean, we're sitting here in the backyard. When I drive in the morning on the radio, I don't hear anything.
Nothing, man. Nothing.
There's no news media covering it. I mean, you're going to put 20,000 people in a dome or plus.
Yep.
And there's there ain't no shit going on.
No, nothing.
News
There's
media
no fan
doesn't
fest.
have
There's nothing on our local TV. There's no, I mean, absolutely nothing.
That was like the second year of the Dome. I went up to the, you know, I'm decent with Cody Summer. He's allowed me to be me. But I went up to the third level where they have the cameras filming and all up there near the rafters, and there was 2 guys sitting there, and they were serving lunch to all the media members up there, and we were hanging out. And then those 2 guys had like a table off to the side though, and I was like, "What are y'all doing over there?" And he's like, "Oh, we're local radio from," it was like a college or something. I was like, "We didn't even know this was happening until a day ago. Our friends told us. We just had to cover this. This is crazy. This is huge. This is amazing." And I'm sitting there like, biggest, yeah, it is. So why is no one telling anyone about it? Why?
It's the biggest deal in the United States for dirt track racing right now.
Now,
I mean,
it should be. It should be.
That's my point. It should be.
But it ain't even in St. Louis. It ain't even a big deal in St. Louis.
That's the point, man. It's crazy. They're missing the boat. They're damn missing the boat.
So then my question is, in situations like that, do you think racing is kind of like the, I don't know, the sore eye that you don't want to look at? They don't really tell the public, hey, we're not.
I mean,
what do you mean?
Those guys come. Yeah.
So if it's not NASCAR or IndyCar, F1, it's not being advertised anywhere. I mean,
right.
Anywhere. So, I mean, is it, the case that,
it's the Illuminati.
City, yeah.
The Illuminati. You got to be accepted into that level, bro. You got to be accepted.
Well, it is a good point. As I'm sitting here telling you,
Kanye tried to tell everybody. Kanye tried to tell him, and he got in trouble.
He did. He sure did.
Kanye tried to tell you who's holding you down, dirt track people. Kanye and Kyrie. Go look them up.
Well, it's like here. Okay, so I live in, like dirt track racing central. I live here in Indiana where dirt track is really big. And there is never anything advertised. I live an hour from, I know, at least 2 tracks. Another dirt track is like, less than 2 hours away.
Kokomo, Bloomington.
Kokomo, Gas City, Montpelier.
I
mean, Lincoln Park.
I hear nothing. If it's not the Indy 500 or the Brickyard, we don't hear about it.
That's crazy.
One of the best weeks of racing, Indiana Sprint Week.
You ain't wrong.
I think okay. So me and my interview with Jeremy Mayfield got cut off when I brought this up, but I think it has something to do. I'm gonna be honest with gambling, bro. I really believe gambling's a big part in a lot of everything.
Really?
I mean, think about everything that's gambled. Think of everything that's large enough to be gambled on, and there is some form of control on the outcome. You let dirt get too big, you can't control that many people, man.
Yeah, that's true.
So bets will go the way you can't fix them. There's only 2 free monies, and that's tax and gambling. I mean, and I think a lot of gambling money controls a lot of things, personally. So.
Well, let's stay on the topic of the Illuminati real quick here.
We are. When talking about gambling, we are talking about the Illuminati and taxes, actually, too. And taxes.
Well, let's talk about sprint car racing and the issues going on there and get your thoughts on All-Stars, World of Outlaws, and the High Limit Series.
All right. For anyone who wants to know, there's a channel on YouTube called Long Live the Chaz. Push play the last 10 episodes, and you'll find out. I mean, come on. You know exactly what I think if you watched it, but what do you mean? Give me some opinions. I don't want another 10-minute montage that sounds the same as another video, I mean, what do you want to know?
Let's
get to the brass tacks. Let's hear your opinions on the whole deal, and I'll respond.
Being a sprint car fan.
There you go.
and a 410 sprint car fan, Pennsylvania, just like you. I think these things are the baddest of the baddest, man.
The baddest race car on the planet.
If you could drive one, you're a bad motherfucker. You could drive anything there is out there.
Absolutely. The purest talents come out of these things, and can't give these guys enough respect. Okay, that being said,
oh God,
we have an all-star circuit of champions. We have a World of Outlaws. We have IRA. We have ASCS. We have. Oh, hold on. Hang on. Kyle Larson just pushed the doorbell. We got High Limit Sprint Car Series, middle of the week now.
Yeah.
How in the hell, as a fan, do you keep up with sprint car racing where it looks like it's going?
Well, I have okay, so
series? How do you have a top tier series here?
So, I mean, that's why, in studying medias and stuff, when I watched, I recently made a video about this, when I watched how everything went down with Formula One, kart, and IndyCar racing back in the 90s, I was like, that kart thing getting destroyed and NASCAR rising right in the middle of it with Days of Thunder and Jeff Gordon, that's really coincidental. And so when you go and start looking at it, you start seeing how F1 kind of used Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think, to kind of break the IndyCar scene up and rise NASCAR racing, because kart racing was becoming almost bigger than F1. I mean, the F1 champion left, Nigel Mansell. I mean, that's a big fucking deal. I mean, that ain't cool. Like, Juan Pablo came here when he was like, okay, he wasn't dominating.
Right.
It started making kart look like NASCAR and sprint car F1. They don't want that to ever be the case. And I saw how that kart IRL split protected their asset, F1s, and then the rise of NASCAR utilizing the wing sprint car fan base that loved the sprint car driver in NASCAR because of Cole Trickle all of a sudden. They would follow that, and NASCAR would be the dominant form of American motorsports, and international fans won't fall in love with the stock car versus their F1 car. Kart and F1 looked similar, so they could like it. It drove similar. But when you look at that, you almost look at it like this. I joked. I was like, it's a bad thing that the World of Outlaws get split up, because long term, once again, the salad, not the hamburger. The salad of the situation is long term. You have to have one form or organization on top of a type of race car to actually promote it to bigger and bigger audiences to make it continuously grow. And when it's split up like that, like late models is too, you can't really have if you want to watch sprint cars, go to the World of Outlaw situation. Like, NASCAR needed USAC stock cars to die. USAC stock cars didn't die till the early-ish 90s. And then if you wanted to watch stock car racing in America, you watched NASCAR, one option. And that's what allowed it to grow in that era as well. It was the only thing that was left. So
I think ASA had a lot to do with NASCAR's growth.
But ASA was also viewed as a feeder series to NASCAR. Like, the ASA was like all stars. I mean, that's what they were kind of, or even ARCA. I mean, ARCA still had its presence in a way, but NASCAR just got that much bigger than everything else. So ARCA could be all stars or whatever. But then the trucks came along, they created their own thing. I think trucks has destroyed racing big time. If you look at it economically, what happened to it, but it destroyed the stadium trucks, and you could almost say it destroyed ASA. You could just say it destroyed a lot of these feeder type into NASCAR series that were created only to get people ready to go to NASCAR Cup racing, because ASA was basically like the Busch Grand National car, so you're driving the same damn thing. So
I think NASCAR controls. I mean, you got a good point. NASCAR controls the truck series. It controls the Xfinity series. It now owns the ARCA series. It controls that. So they're going to let it grow at whatever pace that they want it to be, and Cup is still going to be up here. They have the controlling factor in that. In sprint car series and where we see this going, we see
that being destroyed. We almost have that right now with World of Outlaws, All Stars, and ASCS racing, like that could, or whatever. that we have that kind of structure, that Cup, Xfinity, truck level. Trucks could also be PA or whatever, but we kind of have that right now where this high limit deal is going to, it's going to, if it goes through and there are teams that leave, it's going to destroy that Cup level that it is. It ain't going to make it not be viewed that way, but it's not going to be anymore, because the reason Cup is because that's where the best Cup racers are. The reason the Outlaws are Outlaws is because that's where the best Outlaws are. You start letting the best Outlaw racers not race there, and you don't have that same feel to the field. They'll kill it. And in today's social world, they could talk about USA Series, and back in the day, they tried Kinzer, blah, blah, blah. They didn't have social media. The social world can change your world quickly. Jake Paul's the biggest thing in boxing. The fuck you talking about?
And that's crazy.
I mean,
that's crazy.
That's how. This is the world we're in. World of Outlaws. You could look stupid real quick. You could be cart real quick. You could be a thing of the past that no one knows about if you mess up in today's world.
You think high limit is here to stay? Or is it kind of? I kind of feel like it's not. I kind of feel like it's a Kyle Larson deal that should, show World of Outlaws he could do it. He could bring the money. I don't know.
Here's what I don't really like is they talk about these like $12 million purses and like for the year and all this stuff, and $3 million for a year. And it's like, bro, y'all doing all this for $12 million or $20 million. One Cup organization is $35 million. Like, y'all are little bitches. And that's what I said. Like, what if you piss Kyle Larson off to the point he goes and asks, Roger Penske, you want to help out, do something with the sprint car thing? Like, you come in with a big money investor like that, you could instantly be the biggest fucking thing on dirt. If you could start advertising your races in St. Louis and Vegas and I think some of these people aren't advertising because they ain't got the money to.
Right.
They're on a dirt track budget. If you brought somebody in here with some real money, that $100 million is what I need to get rid of for tax season, you could instantly come in and be the biggest dirt entity there is. Like, that's the bigger worry is if we weaken all of the things we have right now, and then a bigger entity comes in and just buys it all out and turns it into Walmart. Right. I mean, that's what happened. That's what's wrong with the American economy is Walmarts. All these usual small towns and areas used to have their own buildings and supply stores that were owned by local owners. And then when the big entities came in, the economic value of the region was based on the people. And then when you bring that corporation in there, it takes over and supplies more, but it still kills the mom and pop stores. And we have a lot of the World of Outlaws is mom and pop in the business world to me.
Yeah.
World of Outlaws. I mean, when you compare it to everything, they're the mom and pop store. I mean, hell, High Limit and all these other things, they're just kind of like the gas station, They're not this big old, they're not a hardware store at all, They're just there, but
got a little money, gonna throw it around just to exist. No, you're right.
So I mean, I just it's a bad thing overall, and I don't know if it's here to stay or not. That was the original question, because I don't know. I think Kyle Larson knows plenty of people that could just throw this amount of money out the window and not care if it comes back.
Right.
That's
what I think. I mean, if it could stay, and then there'd be a lot of people in trouble here, a lot of series. So.
Well, and that's why I joked and said if you piss them off this coming year, next year, in 2024, if you piss them off enough, they'll just because Roger Penske owns USAC now because he purchased everything. Let's come out with a full-time USAC Wing Series, USAC High Limit Series, and do a 90-100 race schedule that pays $100,000 a week, and you won't have anyone.
Right.
You want to somebody who could
World of Outlaws or
right, somebody who could just come in and pay 3 times the amount in purse money because they have the money. Who's not going to go to a 90 race schedule that's $10,000 to start and $100,000 to win every week, and you get $2,000 to show up? I mean, that's what monster trucks are.
Right.
I mean, that's what they.
If you continue to listen to what the drivers are preaching out there, hey, I want more races, I want less races, I want more money, I want this, I want that. You're chasing this moving target all over for these guys. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to race midweek because of rain outs now. you're listening to the World of Outlaw and Brian Carter specifically be on the defensive of explaining his situation that he has there, and no different than Emmett Hahn sitting over at Chili Bowl.
Oh, that aggravates
getting blasted to shit because Kyle didn't pick up the phone and call him and say, "Hey man, I'd really like to see that purse go up, and I think the drivers deserve more. Can we sit down and talk about this?" How many years did Emmett Hahn and those two families put on that race and take it in the shorts and not make any money? And that race, having the expo with the shootout that it does, it takes both those races to be profitable for that race. It's finally making money, and now we have racers manipulating and say, "Hey guys, I'm not coming racing for that. I understand, and I'm not against the racers asking for more money." I make myself sound like one of the CEOs of one of these companies, but my thing is, in business, I'm listening and I'm hearing, and exactly what Chaz says. How long before the racer that puts his helmet on and gets in the car to race starts running the company and gets somebody with enough money to motivate? Just buy the World of Outlaws out. Just buy it.
That's true.
I mean, if you guys want to play,
it's a publicly traded company.
Yeah, come and get it, man. You guys got the World of Outlaws. You don't have to compete against it anymore. You guys start paying out the $2 million, the $1 million point fund, the bonuses, the travel money, the expenses, dealing with the rainouts and the shows and the tracks and the promoters. You guys, guy that put the helmet on, get on the phone, handle those situations.
I think, I mean, and it could go that far, what you're talking about. I almost feel like the saving, I mean, honestly, if we wanted to start to reward talent, it needs to almost be like SRX with 40 cars. Like,
yeah,
and the guys who are selected to the race cars are the best regional racers in the country. And you only get there based on selection, you know.
IROC style, Chris.
Sensational.
Yeah. So is this IROC the actual IROC, International Race of Champions IROC, or no?
You can call it that.
Oh, God.
It is based off of that.
Okay.
So the concept is there.
Is that what it stands for?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
all run the same paint schemes. We run this little series. It's a freaking blast, man. And the brand itself has taken off to a I can't point my camera up to it, but to a TV channel, you know, on Roku. It's doing well. So
that poster right over Brian's shoulder there. So that's from season 4. So every single one of those cars have the same paint scheme but different colors. Different colors, different numbers.
Okay.
All the same paint scheme, got the same sponsor down the side. So it's definitely IROC themed.
Okay.
And then we've got we got a dirt series now. We've got the Roval series, our challenge. And
wait, you have a Roval series?
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, Kyle Pendergraph right there runs that bad
right
boy.
above you.
Now, hold on. Do y'all allow, like, Cole Custer moves in this Roval series? Like, what do y'all allow?
I think I had 3 of them last night.
Oh my God, bro! I don't know if you saw, and I'll tell you what, I covered a few NASCAR topics here in the later half of the year, and they're one of the biggest videos out there. And the reason they are is, like, the NASCAR fans are really stupid. Like, compared to dirt fans, I mean, they're real bad. I mean, I don't know if it's because they're a little upper in the pay department and a little higher class, so, you know, they didn't have to, like, mow yards as they were kids to make it, or they just don't know how. You know, they're used to reading books all the time. But it is funny how, you know, the Cole Custer topic and, like, the Bubba Wallace topic and all these topics, I just, like, kind of said what everyone was thinking, and they just blew up. They just went unbelievably high numbers. And in every one of them, I'm always saying, I'll say something rational for them or whatever, and then I'll throw in there, but these NASCAR guys are all just a bunch of bitches anyway. Or you know, I'll say something, I'll put something in there like, these dirt guys are way better than NASCAR. Y'all are just a bunch of rich people. Fuck y'all. But
I mean,
I would throw that in there, but then I'd have like a 60,000 view, you know, Bubba Wallace hates Kyle Larson video, and it's got that in there, you know. So spreading the message, you know, reverse psychology on these, you know, Kanye West people. I can't even say who they are. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. For the record, that's a joke. That is a joke. Allah to the West. But what was I saying there?
Kanye West.
God, he always ruins everything. No.
Maybe Kanye could step up by the World Outlaws. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if we got it popular enough. I mean, I just think anybody who comes into the sport with actual income to promote the sport is going to instantly be bigger than everything there is. Instantly. Because it just ain't promoted. The sport's not promoted at all, period.
It's a better show.
It is the best show.
Anybody that's just a race fan that goes to a dirt track and just enjoys it for what it is going to enjoy a dirt track race way more than a damn NASCAR race.
Well, absolutely.
And it used to kind of work like a really good ecosystem because when local racing was famous and local drivers were famous, you know, even Dale Earnhardt's a great example of how this operated properly. Is you would grow a local star from whenever he started racing locally till he was 25, maybe 24, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30. 30 was like the average time to get in the cup type deal, you know, back in that day. But you would
now
build.
We're getting out that age.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's pathetic.
It's nuts.
It's pathetic. But they would get these local fan bases because Cup would only come in once or twice, or even Indy cars, or even the big national dirt racing series would only come in once or twice. Outlaws, all this stuff. But these local scenes being so big and having stars, people would come out and watch, and it would build these local areas into race fans. So when a big series came to town, they weren't having to promote race fans. The local racing scene was building race fans. So when you came to town once or twice a year, you came to hotbeds of racing because the local scene was so hot. You know, you see that with PA and the Outlaws now. They're fuller than full because there's a local scene that people are cheering on. And that worked in dirt as well. I mean, but another aspect to it was local racers were so big of a deal back then is when NASCAR would come to town, some big local sponsor, regional guy, would sponsor that local guy to get a shot in a cup or a World Outlaw or whatever. They would try to get him on a national series. And the local, and what people love is David versus Goliath. They love little guy versus rich guy. I always said that, you know, Dell Sr. versus Jeff Gordon was the preppy rich kid versus the working man. That was what people liked to watch, that battle. And you always got to have that battle back in that day because the regional drivers would sometimes get shots against these national drivers and national talent. Dell Sr., once again, same kind of story, got a shot. And it would be so full and would grab so much attention due to having good local racing scenes. And now since they've lost the understanding of how people go to watch or see something that's cool, you know, they go to watch people. They don't go to watch the Tri-State Speedway. They go to watch stars. And they don't have no more, we don't have no more local stars. They're not respected the same because even once you say that they're 30 years old and they're in a stock car or sprint car, anything you want to say, it's viewed as they are just a good local boy band or something.
Yeah.
There's no way they're this big star, you know? So it's a big problem because people don't go to Taylor Swift concerts to watch guitars and drums. They go to watch Taylor Swift. They're paying for that, not the instruments. They're not paying to come see sprint cars and modifieds at Tri-State Speedway. They're coming to watch the stars that are playing them. And if you ain't got a fucking star, you ain't got nothing. So,
I wish
they did. I got a question then.
Go ahead.
So, okay, if you know, if the people are coming out to see the stars, and we're going to put this on a big national spotlight, we're going to go NASCAR with this because NASCAR always does pre-race concerts and different, you know.
But that's, let's be honest. Let's be honest. That's because they don't have a product. They don't have a racing product.
That answers it.
They have to put on a fucking concert to get someone to come to the show. Because even somebody who's into the damn sport, I went, Kenny Wallace invited me to Gateway, and I went. I know everything that's happening. But I get there in 5 minutes, woohoo, they're green or whatever, and it's boring for 2 hours and then wait for 50 to go or something. Like, if you don't have a concert, the regular person sure as hell ain't ever coming back. You know, we just got a product, you know. Think about it, how when you introduce the sport to new people, just seeing a fucking sprint car or late model go through a corner and the shows that are being put on, they're like, this is badass. They don't even need to know a star. Just imagine if they knew of them, you know.
I look at like you brought up the SRX, man. That, and I'm going to use Kyle Steffens as an example. When SRX came to I-55 here in St. Louis area, Peevely. I mean, to me, that's where you could have put a local star. You know
Didn't Kenny Wallace say he declined it or something like that? Or
Kenny Wallace declined. I think Neil, you
offered
would know that.
I think he offered it.
I don't know if he declined or was offered it. I just knew Schrader was in it from the word go, but Schrader's done all the testing in the cars.
But I think, to your point a second ago, I think it should have been a Mike Harrison, a Kyle Steffens, or a whoever else. But
it should have been. Yes, it should have been. They do it on the asphalt track. Wasn't it like their first race up at Stafford or something? They put a modified guy in and he won.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Why did they do that at the dirt track at Peevely?
I don't know. I
mean, I don't know either.
Point.
I know Stremmy's involved with them a lot, and you think he would have pull there too, or Gundaker, somebody local, just somebody.
Right.
I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying. It definitely with the idea of a new fan coming into motorsports and you take them to a NASCAR race, they're probably not going to be turned on as much as watching a dirt modified or a late model. I mean, you go down to Peevely and you have a fire-breathing sprint car late model going around that place the way they do.
Turning a 10-second lap.
Yeah.
It's visually attractive.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
When I watch a fucking cup car going to 3 at Texas Motor Speedway, it looks like they're exiting the fucking highway,
Yeah.
Yeah, my 4-year-old sitting on the back straightaway away across Motor Speedway with a late model flying by was a hell of a lot more impressed than with Daytona. We go to Daytona and he's wanting to hit off the damn batting cage in the infield.
Right.
Don't give 2 shits about the track.
Right.
But when we're at the dirt track, he's right on top of it.
And you can't miss it.
Four.
Even at a big track. I know Peevely's, you're very lucky to. I still personally have not been to Peevely, and I know I'm missing out. I know I'm missing out. I know World of Outlaws there has to be in fucking Jets in a gymnasium once again. I mean, it's got to be insane. But I was just gonna say, even on a bigger track like a Williams Grove or Port Royal, yeah, it's not that quick fast stuff. But if you're in turn 1 stands at Port Royal when they go green and those dude, it is a fucking fast entry. And even Williams Grove has they are really hauling down the straightaway. You got a real good sense of it when you're there. You don't get that at NASCAR.
You don't get a sense of speed in a NASCAR race. No.
I could maybe get it at maybe Bristol or Martinsville, something that's right in front of you. But when you get to these tracks where they're out of the viewing distance, you might as well just pack it up. I mean, we need to hope that guys like Todd Queering will take action tracks like Huset's and make it a Bristol. That's what we need, a bunch of mini Bristols around the country.
Yeah.
But they're seeing the cheaper option. Instead of building 20,000 stands, let's stream to 20,000 people. That's what they're seeing. Why spend $10 million to build 20,000 seats when we can, spend less than that and have 20,000 viewers?
$2 million to get the same number of people. I'm with you on that.
That's you think about it.
I don't understand
the
that
crowd.
Question. Hang on, guys. Sorry, cutting you off, Kyle. Todd Queering owning Houston Speedway is not benefiting from the stream, is my understanding, as much as the streaming service, because he just gets a track rental basically fee for that part, right?
Well, as far as Todd Queering, and I'm not speaking for him, but from my hearings, he has a little bit of investment into Dirt Vision as well, more than the regular person.
Okay, that's where you're
That's
from.
Not fact. Let's say that. It's not fact. That's just to my awareness. If I wanted to speculate even more, I could go deeper than that, but I don't want to do that on here. I'm just saying.
No, totally understand.
From my recollection of understanding what I'm hearing, he gets a little bit more. But what you're trying to point out is how these 20,000 or more people viewing a stream isn't going to benefit the 20,000 people in person with the promoter. And I think what you're saying is these streaming industries are really fucking the track owner and when they're getting increased to that degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been brought out. I mean, not too long ago, I'm sure you read the article, the track owner, same thing what you said. why aren't you out promoting, doing a better job on this side? I agree with that part of that. But again, he's out here crying to the media that this is the case and what's happening with streaming. I would much rather see the numbers that we're talking about being guys in the stands, or it's something like that, because the money's going to be there, not from being in the stands only, from a hot dog, a beer, whatever the case is. The track's going to benefit from that way more than streaming.
Well, I think what people need to start understanding as well is like this streaming situation with the tracks as far as income. It looks like there's way more streamers that are willing to just rent racetracks, you know.
Right.
And they're like, instead of letting everyone know and this is why I don't like the Brian Carter stance when he's like, I shouldn't let them know my numbers, blah, blah, blah. Is let's just say there's 20,000 more people sitting. And if the owner don't know that, you know, he's not going to be able to know what he's worth or know what he should be making. But, the better alternative there, though, is to just rent the track for a certain amount of money, keep the track owners happy with just making a little money while you rake in all the benefits and don't have to care about anyone knowing the number.
But necessarily that's bullshit, too, for the fact that these streamers or the people renting the tracks are going to the track saying, hey, we're making a $10,000 deal, coming back to the track as the event starts and goes, yeah, man, not the crowd I'm looking for tonight. We're going to settle at $4,000 tonight, $2,000 tonight. That it's a moving target, and that's bullshit too. I've heard the stories. I've seen the stuff happen that way, and I understand that has to happen necessarily in some cases, but that's not good either. And I don't know the transparency that necessarily is needed from Brian Carter in that case. Not siding with Brian on this situation, but still, I mean, the streaming services are, hey, you want Brian Carter to be transparent over here? Maybe we should be transparent over here. Hey, we didn't.
Well, and he made a damn good point when he's talking about the T-shirts. I think a lot of stuff Brian Carter was saying was completely correct and the right thing to say, and everything was done properly if you're coming from the side of a cold, hard killing businessman. Well, you know, if that's how you're going to view it. But if you want to view it as somebody who's trying to work together, there's ways to know everything he was just saying, and you could have said it a lot different way and got the same damn result and been a little bit more open to ideas instead of so defensive on topics. Because that's what killed Brian Carter in that situation in his interview, is he came across too stuck-up blonde girl. You know, I mean, I'm just saying that's how it came across. You know, I got you. I'm smarter than you. I'm better than you type of attitude. But I mean, I know that's getting off topic, but I think that's something that'd be, if we ever want to bring that up. I think you talked or brought that up earlier somehow. We probably mentioned it. You mentioned Brian Carter, the numbers, all that. But,
and like I said, I'm not siding. I'm like you. I'm neutral in this idea. I mean, I am there. In the business which I'm involved with, the whole idea is to see the motorsports grow, see the drivers and teams do better, see the organizations do better, seeing them work with each other, and perfect world, palm trees with money falling off of it,
right?
Hot girls in bikinis and cold Coronas or Miller Lights or whatever you prefer.
And the blonde isn't stuck up, and you can deal with her. You know, it's the perfect world. Continue.
No, absolutely. No, my thing is I think we both try to get to the same point, but there's so much of business that can't necessarily be transparent. And I think on the drivers and team side, you do benefit the fact of being a platinum member, selling T-shirts and doing those things at those events. I mean, you don't.
I get it. I get all of what he's saying.
Chaz rolling up.
Yes.
Chaz rolling up at local hero at Farmington that brings in, hey man, I got my T-shirt trailer, my tent, and I'm gonna sell T-shirts tonight.
No, you ain't, bitch. We're outlaws.
Yeah.
We're professional.
You get Carlson walking down there. Hey, bud, you need to load that table up.
We're professional. You know, we're so amazing, and we have all these great race cars and business owners that they don't know how to. You know, it's way too difficult with Apple getting their cut and all this stuff. We can't explain the streamers. You know, these businessmen can't understand this graph, so there's too much to explain. I just think the transparency.
I don't think he said they couldn't explain it.
But it came across that way. It came across like there's so much to it that they just don't understand. You can't tell them. They too stupid to understand. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, again, me and you don't know because we're not behind the closed doors what's being said, but I'm sure that's being discussed with them. And I
he seemed pretty adamant, like he didn't have to, because if I gotta show you this, then show me the T-shirt numbers and the merchandise sales. Like that didn't seem very fair. That seemed like he was like not up to doing something unless he's getting something back. And I think most people saw that like kind of a petty response, because it's like, oh, you want to see T-shirt sales because they want to know streaming numbers? Why does that even have to be a trade? Why can't they know the numbers? What's the big deal there? It doesn't seem like a big deal unless there's a hidden key of strategy and amount that you don't want someone to know. You're only keeping information away that's valuable. What's so valuable about the streaming numbers?
Good question.
What's so valuable about the streaming numbers that I have to barter it?
Right.
What am I hiding? I mean, come on. That made it look even worse. That made it look like it is making this ungodly amount,
Well, I'd like to know what he was making.
Well, I think a lot of everybody would like to know what all the streamers are making, whether it's Flow, XR, or Dirt Vision.
What? Right. I hear that XR is pretty transparent with tracks, but I don't know.
I'm gonna switch this up a little bit. We'll probably wrap this up here shortly, but I want to give you a shout out, Chaz. I've followed your stuff and I've watched you for quite a long time. I want to know quickly. That Bristol intro you did, man.
Oh God!
For
XR.
Damn, that was badass. That was cool. I don't know if any of you guys got to see that, but that was badass. And do you have other stuff like that you're signed up to do? Because I'd like to see more of that. I thought you were the perfect fit to intro that race.
No, it was pretty legit when it happened. I was like, damn, this could be pretty big. And some people hated me like me. I was kind of like the perfect villain good. It was like the perfect villain good guy to do at Bristol.
Absolutely. Yeah. How did that come about? Did they just?
I contact, because I was honestly, when I started that, the way I got Barry Braun's attention is I made a video about how many entries he got in comparison to I think it was something like at the time a lot of people weren't going to the local racetrack. It was like low car count year or something.
Yeah.
And then they announced Bristol and it's like full or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, oh, y'all don't want to go work for the local mom and pop store, but you're okay going to dance in Hollywood. That's more attractive to just, drive across the country and spend every dollar you got. Know you're going to lose money just because it's a big grand stage, some rich daddy. Right. I called it like Big Daddy stage. I was joking like NASCAR's Big Daddy, the long legs. Yeah. I mean, that's occultism. I can't go into it right now, but David Icke. Anyway, no, it was just a really cool thing, how that worked out. And I was kind of just going at it, saying that, reached out. He said something to me. I said something to him. We did like a talk show, apparently the only talk show he's ever done to that point.
Wow.
And even when NASCAR people was looking him up, they were going to my talk show with him, because it was like the only one that there was of him on when they were about to talk about doing that North Wilkesboro Bristol stuff. Right. So somehow I was like, if you need a hype man, let me know. And he's just like, yeah, come to Bristol. Barry's pretty open about giving new people shots or taking risks. Obviously, a lot of the XR stuff is big risks. I don't think he gets credit, even though he may be disrupting or whatever the industry. There's a lot of people who've thought about doing what he's doing right now.
Absolutely.
He's just been the only one that actually pulled the trigger and tried to do it. But I went up to him after Florida, did those intros, did everything, and that's how that kind of worked out. And I've done some work for him on and off, but the music video was a big hit too at that point.
Yeah, I thought that intro was cool. I hope that you get an opportunity to do more of that. I think you're a good spokesman, so to speak. I mean, to do that. So, very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, if they ain't seen it, it's a good one. It's a real.
Oh man, guys, look it up. It's slick.
I did some. I did some for some similar stuff this year at Bristol.
Yeah.
I did a video kind of like it for the last I-80 Outlaw show. It's on my YouTube called I-80 The Final Time, I think. If anyone watched that one, it's kind of like that.
Check that one out.
And it's
what do you got coming up, man? You got anything cool? What's up with you?
Well, I'm trying to look into some music stuff. I'm trying to still keep up with the racing topics. I'm working on like 4 or 5 interviews. Hopefully this week I'll get to have Cody Sommer on, and I'll also get to have Chris Ferguson on as well.
We had him on. That was a great interview, man. Do that.
Well, I want to talk to him and these guys. See, the reason most of these guys are scared. I'm also talking to Kurt Reimer, which is Taylor Reimer's dad. I don't know if y'all know what Taylor Reimer is, but I joked at her dad and said, hey, I want to talk to the Instagram girl who drives. And I was talking shit to him. You got to talk shit to the lawyers. Apparently some big lawyer in Oklahoma. But out of Tulsa. So if I ever go to jail because of the Emmett Heim throw-out deal or whatever, we're safe. We know a lawyer in town.
That's awesome.
But there's just a lot of interviews I have coming that I don't think they expect to be cookie cutter. You know, they have seen me in front in the one of my biggest videos this year. They see me in front of Kyle Larson interviewing him, and Kyle Larson barked at me, and I barked back.
Yeah,
that scares them big time. That's like, this motherfucker ain't scared of Kyle. Kyle got mad at him, and he didn't just wince. And you know what I mean. Everybody else that get interviewed, the guy barks, they bark, they just fucking fall down
you hit
crying.
A nerve that time with him.
No, but regardless if I hit a nerve or not, I barked right back, you know?
Yeah.
And that scares people to get in an interview with me because they know that I'm not afraid of them.
Right.
You know, I'm not afraid if they don't like what I say. You know, if I don't care what Kyle Larson thinks of me, I mean,
you'll like that one. That was
well.
Good,
I want to ask him about late model and sprint car racing. I have some things. I was arguing with Cody, David Gravel's crew chief. And
I'll text him right now. He texted me a second ago and said, hey, you want to buy this motor? And I'm like, hell no.
Yeah, say no to him. He's always selling junk. But no, I've been Instagramming him back and forth. He's supposed to be getting back with me on when he wants to do it. But that's I think that'll be a good one where we could talk about car ownership, because I think there's a lot of things in the ownership category with the sport that's not necessarily right. And I would like to see how, since he's pretty much owner-driver, has a lot of ins and outs on the operation, how the owner-driver part adds up versus like sprint car racing, where everybody's thinking if they get paid more money that the owners are going to get paid more money. But there's a lot of drivers that aren't owners in sprint car racing. They're just drivers. So one of the recent things I heard, not from Cody, but was, why are these drivers bitching? They already make all the money, you know. What about the owners and all these other people? You know, and I was like, well, owning, he was talking about pay going up. I was like, well, owning has to be profitable. That was a big deal. Big issue in racing is traditionally, back in those days, it paid to own a race car because you made money when you won back then. When you win $50,000 in the 80s and a brand new truck 6,500, you made a lot of money. You know,
it's different now. That's for damn sure.
You know, so owners not making money on winning and losing money because they like the sport as a hobby, or having to, like NASCAR's having to rent the cars out basically to make money instead of just win races. That's where you get to a situation where you're putting people in cars because of money and not because of talent, because it doesn't make money to win. That's why the midget series is officially, you know, college for NASCAR, you know, I mean, because it ain't about winning. It's about renting out to 16-year-old people to try out for NASCAR. That's what it's for.
And they rent them for huge money.
You know, and
so that's a whole nother show we could talk about.
That's really not another show, but if you ain't got no more time, I understand.
Yeah, we got to wrap this thing up, man. But I have a heart for midget racing, and I would love to chat about that. So maybe we revisit all that.
Guy at Chili Bowl said the other year, he's like, when did my $80,000 race car become a development tool? When did this happen?
Right, I agreed. Anybody else got anything for Chaz?
They ain't even got to talk. It's me talks for an hour and a half.
It's
Sorry.
been great.
It's been fun though. The first video that I saw of you was the Kyle Larson one, and when I saw that, I was like, oh hell, it's gonna be a good time Monday night. Fun.
Chaz, I want to invite you back before we even let you go.
We got to be live at the Dome next week. That's what we need to do.
You know, we talked about that.
I can hook us up with a few venues. We could do a nightly show if you want. That'd be nice. I would like to do nightly shows at places, but I don't want to do it alone. Sounds boring if you're just talking alone.
You
Two
can stand
stand-up
up hotel
comic.
room. I'll be there.
No, I'm talking about like find a stage or a venue or a bar or something post race.
Just do a nightly deal.
Nightly deal
post-race?
live at a place that sponsors us and buys us drinks and feeds us food. That sounds like a plan to me. What are you talking about?
Actually, we might be able to make that happen. Kyle, if both of you guys are serious, Neil, if we want to do this, I've got a guy that I think, Neil, you know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna message this here in a little bit. Pendy, if you're interested, let's talk later. Chaz, let's make that happen.
Let's do live shows. I mean, let me know on who you're
That'd be
talking
fun.
to. But I mean, because we obviously we both all probably have. We can all text Kenny Wallace. We can all text Kyle Steffens. You know, Cody Summer. We can all text these guys who can make these things happen. You know.
Yep.
Kenny lives like right there.
There you go. 6-man round table discussion every night, drunk at the bar. Sounds like a fucking time right there, but what are you talking about?
That sounds like a damn good time.
That's called, and luckily for this dirt racing event, there is Ubers available if we can't drive.
No doubt.
You know, all these other racetracks, middle of fucking nowhere, you know.
Agreed.
Well, Brian, get with me after this, and we'll start talking everything, because it's going to be a lot of.
And the other guys can talk more, because we could talk about the race, you know.
Right. Let's, damn, man, that's exciting. Chris, you coming to Missouri?
See? See, I already got him going. The Wild Heart.
I'm in Florida, so I might miss that.
Flights are cheap.
I'm gonna be watching.
Flights are cheap. Have you ever been to the Dome?
We could possibly do something too. I could check and see if we could set something up at the office or R&R Raceware and do something from there too.
Yeah.
We could do 3 a day, morning, noon, and night.
We know enough people. I think we can make this happen. So let's wrap this one up. Let's chat. We'll see what we can do at the Dome. Chaz, thank you very much, buddy.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Chaz, it's been great, man.
Wrap her up, Kyle.
All right. With that, the hot dog stand is now closed. See you all later.
I'm going to go take a quick piss. I'll be right back.
Horrible show. I talked over these guys like it wasn't nothing. I'm going to go kill myself.
Good, man.
No, man. You were good.
That's what it's about.
All right. I'll be back in like 5 minutes. I need some nicotine.
Oh, boy. On
your way back, grab me a line of Coke.
I did not say that.